Well, hello everyone. My name is Kiki Fontenot, and I'm here to share with you guys a few tips for starting a school garden. Whether you're a master gardener or a teacher or a volunteer working at a school, no one school garden looks alike. They're all different. They're all run a little bit different, but they all have some common themes that make them successful. So that's what we're going to go ahead and share today. And this is a little preaching to the choir, but what you guys are doing is really beneficial to the children and the students you're working with. School gardens help students gain responsibility. They have to learn to water and maintain and keep their plants alive. They acquire new skills, like you see up here in the top right-hand corner. Students, whether they're middle school, high school, even elementary school, learn how to use power drills, install irrigation, set timers, some really great information for them and really great life skills. We've never seen students throw the potato chips away, but we do see them trying things like beets and carrots and radishes and lettuce and items that they may or may not be eating at their house, so that's good. And one of the most important things that I really like about school gardens is that when we're doing tests with school gardens and some of our students working on master's projects here at LSU, we're seeing those students who participate in school gardens increasing their science scores, and maybe even more importantly, we're seeing that they are increasing their environmental stewardship. So these students are more likely to pick up trash when they walk by it outside, more likely to shut off leaking faucets, carpool, ride their bikes, things of that nature. So to me, that's a big step, right, in helping our students care for the earth and the environment around them. Y'all, there are no age limits. School gardens start as early as 2 years old. We've put in nearly 120 school gardens in daycare centers, so that's not a problem. And they go all the way up through high school seniors, so it works at all age levels with gardening. There are no limits either as far as handicapped students. So as long as you set up your garden correctly, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, you can have students in wheelchairs, you can have students who are hearing impaired, who are blind, who have physical limitations gardening with you. So that's not a problem either. Every single student, no matter their capabilities, are able to participate in the garden. Now, with that being said, though, not all students like the garden. Okay, so in our minds as horticulturists, and you guys as master gardeners, and teachers interested in this, we're all gung ho. But just realize there will be those students who do not want to get their tennis shoes dirty, who are not really excited about trying, the vegetables or the fruit that you're going to be growing and that kind of thing. And that's okay. Don't push them too hard at the start. Just let them naturally grow in their love for this. And it may take all year long for that to happen. I will say that probably 90% of the kids in each class I've ever worked with do love the garden projects, especially because they get to go outside and get out of the classroom. So before y'all start, and if you haven't started a school garden yet, definitely talk to the principal. You have to have their permission. You have to have their blessing on where you're placing this garden. Schools have a lot of temporary buildings coming up and a lot of plans for expansion in the future. So don't put the garden where it's going to be just demolished the very next year, right? So pretty much get their permission. After that, if you're a volunteer, talk to participating teachers, see what their time constraints are, see what they're teaching, try to match the garden you're doing. It doesn't have to be a vegetable garden, but match it to the curriculum they teach. You may want to talk to school staff, janitors, people who mow the yard, the cafeteria staff. They can all volunteer. They're all going to know the holiday schedules. You want to make sure the water is not shut off if you have automatic timers or automatic irrigation, over the Christmas break and you come back to dead plants. That would make the kids a little bit sad. So you need to talk to more than just the teacher that you're going to be working with. You really want to make this project known around the school, and you want to incorporate those people as much as you can so that they feel pride in this project just as much as you do, so that nowhere down that chain of command is the garden, mistreated or just thought of as an afterthought. We really want it to be a forefront for the school. We really need to make sure the students are interested in this project, right? So when you guys think about starting a school garden, if you're a master gardener or something like that, you're thinking, oh, I get to go on Wednesdays and plant and water these days. Those are all great ideas, but the students have to be the number one owners and workers in this garden. If they aren't the ones planting the seeds, pulling the weeds, watering, and harvesting that crop, then it's just a pretty decorative thing that they're going to be walking by. And I want to show you a few pictures here on this slide. These are third graders. And this was an Ascension Parish School. And y'all, the teacher entrusted the third graders to use the power tools to screw the beds together. They built them. They walked them over as teams to the area they were going to place them in. They got rid of the weeds below with shovels and weed eaters. They filled the beds with the soil. You can see using buckets. This kid's in a wheelchair because he had broken his leg up here in the top right. But using pencil boxes, using everything. It took us all day to fill the beds. But each student participated in this. And you can see here in the last picture, Amanda's not planting. She's pointing like, put the seed here or do this. But you can see that the child has the shovel. So while we can have parents donating supplies and seeds and funds for this, and while we can have school staff helping maintain around it, like mowing the area around it and checking on water on holidays or weekends, or helping like the smaller kids with building, we really want to make sure that these kids are actually doing this garden. Without them doing it, it's just not a successful garden project at all. There's lots of different volunteers, master gardeners, local college kids, faculty, staff, things like that. Those little kids that I just showed you building their beds and planting by themselves, not with other people doing it. Look how great their potato bed looks on the left. Look how great their cucumber bed looks on the right. They had a lot of success, okay? If the rows aren't straight, if things don't look perfect, that's all right, because this is supposed to be done by the students, not by a professional staff, right? We really want them to get this experience gardening. Also, when you're thinking about growing your garden, you want to make sure the students are engaged, but you got to pick the right location. So start small. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. Even if it's just a couple of containers, that's fine, or a raised bed, perfectly fine. But pick an area where you can expand on that. If the students like it, if you feel that this integrates very easily into your curriculum, you may want 2 or 3 extra raised beds the next year or more the next year, right? So pick a space where you can expand. Pick a space that gets 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day, has good drainage, and has a water faucet near it. We do get a lot of rainfall in Louisiana, especially this year in 2021, but it doesn't always fall at the right time of the year. So make sure you can water this and you have access, or that special key you need at schools to get that water faucet open so that your students can enjoy this garden space. I hit the wrong button. Here we go. Again, I'm the vegetable specialist. I'm all about planting vegetables and fruit with kids in school gardens, but y'all, that's not the only thing you can do. You've got themed gardens, like you see here, the pizza garden, right, where you have a circle area and you divide it into peppers, tomatoes, pesto, right, which would be like basil, things like that, onions, thyme, eggplant, things that you can throw on a pizza. Alphabet gardens are great for little kids. So you have an asparagus plant and you put an A next to it, a capital A, a lowercase a. You have a broccoli or a Brussels sprout, right? You put a capital B, a lowercase b. You're not trying to get the kids to read at 3 years old, 2 years old, but you're trying to get them to recognize their letters. So alphabet gardens are great. And you can go A through Z with fruits and vegetables and various tools in the garden. You can have vegetable gardens. Cut flower gardens are wonderful, y'all. Zinnias, sunflowers, cosmos, super easy to plant in the spring. Great for Mother's Day and teacher appreciation gifts. Herb gardens, ornamental gardens, native plant gardens are wonderful. I've even seen one school out in Covington plant a gumbo garden, right, where they planted things like filet and okra and tomatoes and things you can put in a gumbo. So there's all kinds of ideas. Be creative with it. Think of your students and what they enjoy and try to, match that to the garden space. You also want to connect the garden to the hardscape. And so I wanted to show you guys a few little ideas that I like. This is actually a school garden in Texas. And this was very much built by a master gardener. He wasn't so keen on interacting with the students, but in his former profession, he was a construction manager. So he knew how to build a lot of things. And up in this top left corner, you can see he built an entrance for their garden that looked like a schoolhouse. He also built a boardwalk and some railings so the kids could do some water quality control, and they had a little pond in their school garden area, which was really nice. Here is the pond before they had it filled with water. Things like this in the bottom right-hand corner, just some cut down old tree stumps for your students to have a place to sit. You don't have to have fancy benches. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. But at times when it's wet out there, if you give the students the instruction in the classroom, then you walk all the way out to the garden. Oftentimes they've forgotten what you told them they were going to do. So a great seating place where their pants aren't going to get wet. Lots of artwork in the garden is great. And this garden has a brick pathway going up to it. And one of the ways they funded their school garden project was by getting people to donate money. And when they did, they put a brick in the pathway for them. So you can see the sheriff's department donated some money, the local neighborhood association donated money, people's individual godparents, grandparents, nannies, aunts, uncles, whatever, donated money, got a brick in their name. So you guys can do a lot of really fun stuff like that to raise money. Here we have another great school garden. This is Jesus the Good Shepherd up in North Louisiana. And each section, first grade through sixth grade, had their own bed. This is the cafeteria right here. Students walked by this daily. They looked at it from the cafeteria. They were reminded to go work in their gardens. And that cafeteria staff did a really good job of incorporating what they grew into the menu, which was nice. This is Dutchtown High School. Here we had special ed students, special needs students working with us. A lot of them were physically handicapped, but some of them mentally just didn't want to touch the ground. There was some disconnect there. So what we did was we just brought in these big tree tubs for those huge, like 100-gallon trees that you can buy if you want instant shade in your yard. And we put vegetables in them, and the students were able to wheel right up to them. The students who didn't want to bend all the way over the ground could reach it. It was about knee height. It worked out perfectly. And we could move that garden if we needed to in the future. Here again is another Parks Middle School. This was their initial garden. And you can see the teacher was on a very low budget. So one of her uncles worked at a chemical plant. She took the outer sleeves of barrels, not the stuff holding chemical, but the outer plastic sleeve. He cut them in half. They filled them with soil. Bam, school garden. You don't have to have tons of money to do this project. This was St. Paul's first garden. Now it's completely expanded, but you can see here the students, the high school seniors, were allowed to drive around the neighborhood, find things that they could throw in the back of their pickup trucks. And they've got cinder blocks that they found here with their new strawberries they had just planted. And here they've got the old railroad ties, which I know has creosote in it. I know there is some concern with that, but look how far off they planted from it. As long as your roots aren't touching that creosote, those plants aren't going to die. Okay, you're going to be fine. So as long as you keep it well off the border, you're fine. And they had a very successful, very wonderful garden there. Here's some typical raised beds we put out at 4-H camp, 4 by 8 foot long. We'll talk about dimensions in a bit. Here's a garden that was for an after-school project that was just on the edge of a soybean field. They had no money. The sheriff's department got these kids involved in this project. They wanted them to have something positive to do after school. The county agent got the soybean farmer to donate the last 3 or 4 rows, and they planted their okra and their corn, and they had a really great garden right there at the edge of a field, okay? Daycare centers, again, small raised beds right next to the playground. You want to encourage the students to visit that garden often. So even if they slide down, run across, and check their little small broccoli transplants, that's perfect, right? Gardens are successful, like Meadowview right here, when they have volunteers who really want to help out. This was a garden that was done by a science teacher and a volunteer in the 4th grade, and they would garden a little bit during the school, like during the class time, but they also had a garden club after school, and they were growing gourds, and they did rosemary cuttings and old Coke bottles, and y'all can see how they decorated their garden and stored their tools under trees near the garden. They had a really great time. That volunteer really helped that teacher coordinate after school activities so they could meet once a week and just, plant something, propagate something, weed something, short little activities, right? And y'all, don't feel overwhelmed. You don't have to have a big garden. Like I said, most of our successful teachers started very small and slowly built up their gardens. So you can take a single bag of soil, poke some holes in it, and grow tomatoes or beans or potatoes or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be big. What I want you to think about when growing the garden is, if you are building those raised beds, make sure they're only 2 to 4 feet wide, because any wider than that, little kids can't reach to the center. Make sure in your pathways, like you see right here, we have 5 feet between raised beds. That's so wheelchairs can go in and out of the garden if you ever do have kids with handicap special needs. Again, remember to think about seating areas, composting areas. Eventually down the line, you may want a greenhouse or something super fancy. It depends on how into it you get. If I could give y'all just a very few tips, start with good soil. Usually you're going to be buying soil in bulk, by the yard, so $40 to $60 a yard. A lot of times it does not have fertilizer in it, so you're going to have to add fertilizer. Make sure that soil pH is between 5.5 and 7. Ask the people you're buying it from. They run soil tests. If it is too low, don't buy it. I don't care how cheap it is. Do not get it. If it is super high, like 8, 9, 10, do not buy it. Make sure it's in that range. You're setting yourself up for success by doing this. Look at that soil before you buy it. If it's full of bark, big, heavy pieces of bark, it's going to be real hard to get seeds to germinate in that. So you may want to buy half bulk soil and half really cheap topsoil bags, like those 99-cent bags of garden soil, and mix it together so that you have a better composition of soil to start seeds in. So you can add topsoil or peat moss. Peat moss is more expensive. Topsoil is cheaper, or at least top dress if it's real barky, the top 2 to 3 inches with that cheap topsoil mix so your seeds do germinate well. Y'all, plant in the right time of the year. We could talk for hours about this. We have 2 really great resources for you guys when choosing when to plant what crops. The Louisiana Vegetable Planting Guide is wonderful. It has a chart of what to plant in the spring and in the fall, the proper dates, the proper plant spacings, all that kind of information in it. We have another publication on our website at lsuagcenter.com called Steps to Growing a Successful School Garden. It gives you all kinds of tips on how to set the garden up. But on page 19, it also gives you a sample planting chart of what to plant each month. And if that's something that you're interested in, y'all, we can actually grow vegetables 12 months out of the year. It's insane. But we're not in school 12 months out of the year. So you really don't want to have the students planting things in May if there's no school programs in June, July, and they don't come back till late August, right? So think about the crops that the students are going to be able to plant during the school year and harvest during the school year. So we're not going to plant watermelon, right, in March if the kids can't harvest it in June and July. It's not fair. You're asking them to do a lot of work that they don't get to receive, the benefits from. But if you're a homeschool or a charter school, public, private, doesn't really matter. Anybody can grow a school garden. But if you have year-round programming, then that opens up the door to some more of those summer crops for you. Y'all can start in late August, but I know that's really busy with y'all coming back to school and everything. September is an ideal time to start planting the school garden. And if you look at this slide, you can see that there's many crops you can plant in each of the months. And all of these crops, if planted in these months, can be harvested before that school year ends, typically in mid to late May, okay? When you're maintaining that garden, the biggest pitfall I see, teachers aren't remembering to fertilize those plants. So their plants look teeny tiny and weak. The whole broccoli plant is this big when the head should be that big. So put some fertilizer in that garden if it's not already in that bulk soil. Triple 13, composted manures are fine. Organic fertilizers are fine. It doesn't matter, just not fresh manure. We don't want to add E. coli or Listeria problems to the school garden. When they start to bloom, you guys put more fertilizer out there. Work with the students. Miracle-Gro is great. Calcium nitrate, doesn't matter. But when plants start to bloom, you really got to add a little more fertilizer to get that big amount of yields to treat each student to a cucumber or to a tomato, that kind of thing. Make sure you're watering your gardens. I love drip hoses. Water at the base of the plants. The more you water the leaves, the more disease you have. And then for weed control, we're going to hand pull in the school garden. We're not going to be using herbicides. And speaking of chemicals, when we think of insects and disease problems, we treat school gardens as no spray gardens. Here we have a super cute little kid attempting to read that sign right there. Children either can't read, are just learning how to read, or don't want to read. They want to be outside playing or picking things, and they're ignoring signs left and right. So if we spray insecticides or fungicides in the garden, all of these things, it doesn't matter if they're organic or if they're synthetic. That has nothing to do with it. They have what we call a pre-harvest interval. It's the time that you need to wait between applying that chemical and eating that produce or harvesting it. Here's some real fine print, but just 7. Typical, insecticide used in home gardens has a pre-harvest interval of anywhere between 1 and 21 days, depending on what vegetable you're growing. We can't have students going out there and ignoring signs for 21 days, not reading them, and eating things with insecticides or pesticides on them. So we just don't spray. If it gets really buggy, pull it out, throw it out. If it gets really diseasey, pull it out, throw it out. Widen your row spacings, try other crops, that kind of thing. This is a great guide to, it says controlling insects in the school garden. This is also on our website, but really it's a great guide for helping you identify insects. Which are the beneficials, which are the pests. Then y'all, you gotta harvest it. If the kids don't get to eat it, there was no point to this garden whatsoever, right? Or harvest their cut flowers or enjoy their native plants. Keep it simple. Pick it, wash it, eat it. Ranch dressing in a bowl. That's all you need, okay? Keep it simple. But if you have students who are a little bit older, middle school, high school, I've seen a bunch of school gardens do what they call short chef events. So the teacher will get out her iPhone and the kids get to pretend like they're doing a cooking show. So they take produce from the garden, and it could be simple like, here's how to, peel a carrot and chop a carrot and dip it in the ranch dressing. Or here's how to make spaghetti sauce or something a little more complicated. You can buy these cute little paper chef hats, videotape them, and let them watch themselves do this. This really gets them excited about growing the garden. Fundraising, that's a big concern when you're starting a school garden. Y'all, these grants that I've listed here, schools in Louisiana have been very successful getting. The Captain Planet Foundation gives out between $500 and $1,000 to schools doing environmental projects such as school gardens. Whole Foods, Whole Kids give out up to $2,000 to $3,000 per school that wants to start a school garden. Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, if you speak to their managers, even Walmart, they'll often give you gift cards as long as you bring something on letterhead saying we're starting a school garden, can you help us out? They usually give you a $50 donation card, and you can go buy hoses and seed from them. Welch's Grape Juice does a garden grant for $500 a year. It's really great. Talk to people for personal endowments like that brick pathway I showed you. Talk to local nurseries, plant nurseries, and hardware stores. They often will donate to your school garden. Master gardeners, you guys have plant sales every year. Think about donating some of the money you made at the plant sale to local schools in your area who want to start school gardens. $100, $200 goes a long way. It can build them a bed. It can replenish the soil in their school garden. And it would be a great way to give back to the community, with very small amounts of money. Y'all, there's tons of resources out there for you, whether you're a volunteer or a teacher. National Ag in the Classroom has excellent lessons. Seeds to Success, the Louisiana Farm to School Network. Y'all, they have tons of lesson plans, tips on planting, how to get started, all kinds of great stuff at this website as well. Our LSUAgCenter.com website has things like food safety in school gardens, the guide to growing a school herb garden, and plenty other publications you can look at. We have a Veggie Bites school garden newsletter that goes out quarterly. Just click here to see old issues of it. And if you're interested, you can always email me at kkfontnow@agcenter.lsu.edu, and I'll get you on that Veggie Bites email list. So I hope you guys enjoy growing a garden. I hope you are all successful at growing a garden. Talk to your local master gardeners. Talk to your local county agents. Call us here on main campus if you need help. We're here to help you at the LSU Ag Center. Talk to you later.